She thought she was playing a game. Her stepmother gave her a stool, dropped in her toys, and filled the machine with water, then left the room. Isabelly was 3 years old. By the time they found her, she was floating. Authorities don't call this an accident. They call it murder. On May 7th, 2022, in the quiet city of Cascavel, Paraná, Brazil, a 3-year-old girl named Isabelly Assumpção was found dead inside a washing machine. The person accused of her death wasn't a stranger. It was her stepmother, 27-year-old Susana dos Santos. According to prosecutors, what happened that day wasn't an accident. They allege it was a cold act masked as a tragic mishap. The incident sent shockwaves through Brazil and ignited a nationwide debate about trust, blended families, and what really happened behind closed doors. This is the case of Isabelly Assumpção. On May 7th, 2022, in the quiet city of Cascavel, Paraná, Brazil, a 3-year-old girl named Isabelly Assumpção was found dead inside a washing machine. The person accused of her death wasn't a stranger. It was her stepmother, 27-year-old Susana dos Santos. According to prosecutors, what happened that day wasn't an accident. They allege it was a cold act masked as a tragic mishap. The incident sent shockwaves through Brazil and ignited a nationwide debate about trust, blended families, and what really happened behind closed doors. This is the case of Isabelly Assumpção. Isabelly Assumpção was just 3 years old. She lived with her biological mother during the week, but spent weekends with her father, Alex dos Santos Assumpção. At the time of the incident, Alex was in a relationship with a woman named Susana dos Santos. To the outside world, their arrangement may have seemed normal, a child moving between separated parents. But behind the scenes, things weren't so simple. Reports later revealed that Susana allegedly grew increasingly jealous of the relationship between Alex and Isabelly's mother. Not necessarily romantic, but due to the ongoing communication they maintained as co-parents. This tension growing would later become a crucial part of the prosecution's case. Because on one of those routine weekends, something happened that would end Isabelly's life. It was Saturday, May 7th, 2022, Mother's Day weekend in Brazil. Like many weekends before, 3-year-old Isabelly Assumpção was in the care of her father, Alex dos Santos Assumpção. But on this particular afternoon, Alex had gone to work, leaving Isabelly alone at home with her stepmother, Susana dos Santos. What happened next would become the heart of a criminal investigation and a source of nationwide outrage. According to the complaint filed by the public prosecutor's office in Paraná, Susana filled a top-loading washing machine with water. Then, she allegedly placed several of Isabelly's toys inside the basin, making it appear like a playful setup, a distraction, a game. Investigators believe she then took a plastic stool and positioned it directly in front of the machine. What's more disturbing, prosecutors allege she lifted Isabelly onto the stool, encouraging her to interact with the toys floating in the water. What happened in those next few moments is still the subject of legal debate, but the allegations are grim. According to the prosecution, after setting the stage, Susana walked away, leaving Isabelly alone in the laundry room with the machine filled, running, and open. She was unsupervised, vulnerable, and tragically unaware of the danger she was in. Moments later, Isabelly would be found drowned in that same washing machine. The details raise more questions than answers. Why was the machine filled with water? Why were toys placed inside? And most importantly, why was Isabelly left alone in that environment for such a critical length of time? Authorities would later call it more than just negligence. They described it as a deliberate setup, a situation prepared in advance to lead to death. The afternoon of May 7th, 2022, would forever change the lives of those who loved little Isabelly. After being left alone, Isabelly's playful curiosity likely led her to interact with the toys placed inside the washing machine, standing precariously on the stool. But what followed is beyond comprehension. Authorities believe that Isabelly lost her balance. Perhaps she reached too far. In a tragic moment of vulnerability, she slipped and fell into the top-loading washing machine. The water inside the machine, combined with the confined space, created a lethal trap. Despite the obvious danger, no one was there to intervene. Time passed, and as minutes turned to an agonizing eternity, Isabelly remained submerged in the water. It's unclear exactly how long she was in the machine before she was discovered, but when the emergency call was made, it was already too late. First responders arrived at the scene, desperately trying to save her, but Isabelly was already beyond help. The heartbreaking reality settled in when the paramedics had to pronounce her dead at the scene. In a chilling turn of events, Isabelly, a young child with a whole life ahead of her, had lost her life in the very home she should have been safe. What could have been a joyous Mother's Day weekend had turned into an unimaginable nightmare for those who loved her. Her father, Alex, was at work when the incident unfolded. The grief he would experience upon returning home would be nothing short of devastating. A father had lost his daughter. A family had lost a beloved little girl. The initial shock, confusion, and horror of the situation would soon give way to a long and painful investigation. And as the authorities pieced together the tragic events, the question remained. How did this happen? Was it an accident? Or was it something far darker? As the reality of Isabelly's tragic death set in, the question on everyone's mind was, how could this happen? Was it truly an accident? The investigation into Isabelly's death began almost immediately, with authorities carefully reviewing the evidence at the scene. What they uncovered was shocking. The public ministry of Piranha didn't take long to reach a conclusion. This wasn't a simple accident. They charged Isabelly's stepmother, Susana Dazer dos Santos, with intentional homicide. But why would a woman with a relationship to Isabelly's father, someone who was part of the same family, want to harm a child? Was there more to the story than meets the eye? Prosecutors allege that Susana, driven by jealousy and possessiveness, carefully planned the moment that led to Isabelly's death. According to their claims, she knew exactly what she was doing when she left Isabelly alone in the laundry room, in a potentially dangerous situation. The accusations are chilling. The public ministry believes that Susana placed Isabelly on the stool in front of the washing machine with the intent to let the child play with toys in the water. But it doesn't stop there. The key detail here is that she then allegedly walked away, leaving Isabelly unsupervised for long enough for the worst to happen. Was this a carefully orchestrated plan to remove Isabelly from her life? Or was it an unfortunate chain of events that led to an unthinkable tragedy? What do you think? Do you believe this was an accident? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. The prosecution's theory goes even further, suggesting that Susana harbored deep resentment toward Isabelly. Allegedly, her jealousy of Isabelly's relationship with her father was so intense that she saw the child as an obstacle in her relationship with him. Is it possible for a stepmother to harbor such hatred? Could the relationship dynamics between Susana and her partner have reached a point of such dysfunction? The investigation dug into this, hoping to find clues that might shed light on Susana's state of mind leading up to the incident. But here's where it gets even more unsettling. How much of this is truly an accident, and how much was calculated? The law will ultimately decide, but it's hard to imagine anyone leaving a small child alone in a room like that unless they were fully aware of the potential danger. What do you think? Was Susana's action premeditated, or could she truly have been unaware of the consequences? Does her relationship with Isabelly's father make a difference in how you view this case? Susana Dazer dos Santos' defense team contends that the tragic events of May 7, 2022 were the result of a horrible accident, not premeditated homicide. According to her lawyers, Susana had a good relationship with Isabelly, and there was no evidence of ill intent leading up to the incident. They argue that Susana never intended to cause harm to the child, and that the situation escalated unexpectedly. While the defense acknowledges the unfortunate outcome, they stress that there was no malicious intent behind Isabelly's death. The challenge for the defense will be to convince the court that the circumstances surrounding Isabelly's death weren't manipulated. However, The prosecution's case against Susanna suggests otherwise, with several pieces of evidence pointing toward intentional actions. Isabelly's father, Alex dos Santos Assumpção, has expressed his trust in the legal process, acknowledging the loss of his daughter while placing his faith in the judicial system to deliver justice. Although he admits that no verdict could ever replace his daughter, Alex believes that the legal outcome will offer some form of closure. In contrast, Isabelly's biological mother, represented by attorney Alexander Bailner, believes that Susanna's actions were deliberate. Bailner argues that the scene was meticulously staged by Susanna, with evidence suggesting that Isabelly's tragic death was not a random accident. According to Bailner, the setup, including the stool, toys, and water-filled washing machine, indicates intent on Susanna's part. The mother's legal team insists that Susanna's jealousy and possessiveness over her partner, Isabelly's father, played a role in the events leading to the child's death. The charges against Susanna dos Santos remain under review. She faces serious accusations, including intentional homicide. The Public Ministry of Parana has filed these charges based on their belief that Susanna orchestrated the situation that led to Isabelly's drowning. Susanna's attorneys have 10 days to respond, after which a judge will decide whether to proceed with the charges as they are or amend them. If the charges stand, the case will proceed to trial, and a jury will decide Susanna's fate. This will be a critical moment in the legal process, as the details of this tragedy continue to unfold in the public eye. As of January 2025, the case is still unfolding within the Brazilian judicial system. The public prosecutor's office has requested a jury trial for Susanna dos Santos, a critical step toward justice for Isabelly. The defense has been given time to respond to the charges, and the next stage of this process could shape the outcome of this devastating case. The tragic events surrounding Isabelly Assumpção have left a lasting impact on her family and the community. The ongoing legal proceedings serve as a reminder of how crucial it is for justice to be served, not just for the victim, but also to hold those accountable for their actions. This case also raises important questions about child safety and supervision in everyday situations, issues that affect all families. This story is far from over, and the trial is still in progress. Subscribe to stay updated and follow this case as it develops. Justice for Isabelly is still within reach, and the journey is far from finished.